Hello everyone, I'm going to be putting together a photo shaker card, and I have created a Cricut file that I'm sharing with you if you're interested in doing it. So this is what the file looks like, and I'll be explaining as I go why I've done certain things. So the glitter paper, I cut out a frame, and I'll explain why I did that. In addition to getting those 3 blessed in there. If you want to alter it and just use 1 blessed, you can. That's what I did here. And then use the shaker bits right here to cut out a bunch of glitter stars out of the other side of it. So the reason why I set it up with 3 blessed going across in the Cricut file is because I was mass producing them, and I got more bang for my buck by filling that spot with blessed. But if you're just making 1 card, you don't need 3 of them, or if you're going to be using a different word. So I'm just trying to maximize all the space. This piece right here is the white. This is the card base, 7 by 10, so you fold it in half for a 5 by 7 card. This right here is only if you're not going to be using the thin cuts. So I use the thin cuts to make this circle that's going to cover the outside of our shaker card. But if you have the thin cuts, then you'll be able to do that. And that's what I used. I used these 3 dies to make this card. But if you don't have this set, then you'll want to cut out this, and it'll give you the ring to go around. And I did that in New England Ivy. And then this little stand for the snow globe is actually a Cricut file, so if you don't already own it, you'll have to pay 99 cents for that. You could easily leave it off, but I really liked the finishing touch that it gave to make this look like a snow globe. So let's get into the card. I've already cut everything out to make it go by a little bit quicker. And this is a rendition of my Christmas card from last year. So I've just updated the supplies to use current supplies. This card base is actually, I think, a retired color now, slate, but I had it on hand. And you're not going to see it much, so I just used something I had a lot of. And I cut it. You could cut this with your paper trimmer if you want. I just did it on the Cricut just so that it was done with everything else. Now, in my blog post that's associated with this, there will be a link to my card from last year so you can see how this differs. So my card from last year, which I sent them all out, so I don't even have a sample to show you, everything is cut out, and I glued the photo on the inside so that you could see the photo through the acetate window, through all the layers. So all the layers have holes in them, and the Cricut file, which I also shared on my blog, is has the hole in just the right spot on all the layers. So this version, I'm not going to make it go all the way through. I'm going to use the shaker window instead. So let's get started. I'm going to first put this red frame down, and the reason why I cut the square out of this and made it a frame instead of just a sheet, just a piece of paper laying on top is one, so that I get more bang for my buck out of the paper, because glitter paper is not cheap. So I wanted to maximize the paper by cutting other things out of it. But then the other thing that it does is the adhesive does not stick to the glitter paper very well. So by cutting out the center, the adhesive that we're going to be sticking for the shaker window will stick better. And we left a big enough border so that this will, it'll just peek out the sides here. And then we're also going to be raising this up a little bit with foam dots. So you won't, it's wide enough so that you won't see the gray, like if you tip it to the side, since it's going to be raised, you won't see it. All right, so let's start the shaker. So what we need to do first is take the acetate, and there's a, let's see, it's coming up. There's a little adhesive or a little like protective coating on there that you want to peel off. And I use just a little piece of washi to grab it and pull it off to make it easy. This one was already lifting, so it was real easy, but sometimes it's not already lifting and it gets a little tricky. So the first thing I'm gonna do is, this is the foam that comes with the shaker windows. And this is what the package looks like. It comes with the acetate and the foam. And so this one still has the foam on, but has some of the squares gone. So the squares, you don't necessarily need to make a shaker window. We're gonna be using them today because we're gonna be raising this panel. But the reason why they're there is so that you get more out of this circle. And it's like a bonus. So we're gonna take the acetate. We just took the coating off. We're gonna take the acetate and put it right on top of there. I find this the easiest way to do this because then the circle stays perfect. Some people have taken the foam off and then try to put it on your project, but I find that it's just easier to do it this way so that your foam stays in a perfect circle. And then you'll just lift the whole thing off, and there you go. All right, so now here's a very important tool. This is an anti-static bag, and this works twofold. So it works by taking away some of the static inside the window from the acetate, but I also get it like on the sides, these inside sides, so that it's not sticky on the inside of the shaker. And the top is still sticky and it'll still stick to your project. But it'll get the stick off the sides and it'll also help with some of the static. So now what we need to do, now this is going to be a little bit trickier than putting on just a normal window. So what I'm doing is I want the window to be underneath the top of the card so that it's flush with the top of the card. It would be easier to make this card with the window just sitting on top, and then you would have dimension just from the window, not from the card. So I'm doing this a little different than I have done in the past. So bear with me as I do this. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for me. So my photo, this is from a few years ago, and I cut my husband out because I couldn't fit us all in. This is just for demonstration purposes. And I cut the side off because this was the edge of the photo and I just wanted us centered. But before I cut it with this, I cut it with this die cut because that is sized perfectly to fit inside here. I measured that once this went on and once this went on, it wasn't going to show. So I knew that it didn't matter that this was not a perfect circle. So what I'm going to want to do is, this is going to be under here, and this is basically going to be the base of my shaker. And let's see, I'm actually going to back it with this, and you'll see why in just a second. I don't want any of the shaker bits to seep out, so I'm just going to line this up so that it's a perfect circle now. And what I'm going to do is put these shaker bits, I've got the stars in red glitter and in the green New England ivy. the red glitter is only glittery on one side, so it's not going to be red all the time, but the white looks good too. So I've got green, red, and white in here. I'm not going to use all the green because there's a lot of green. In fact, I'm going to take a couple out. And then I also have, there's this sequin pack, and look how pretty these sequins are. There's some stars, there's some big and little sequins, there's some iridescent, there's all different sizes. This is the silver mix, and there's also a gold mix. And I'm going to put some of those in there too. So we've got a nice mix of sequins and the little stars that I cut out of cardstock. So that is this die right here. And there's hearts or there's stars, and the stars, as you can see, are just little teeny tiny stars. Just add a little something fun. And that way you can add a little color to your shaker. So now what I'm gonna do is just make sure this is flat enough. Is I'm going to just add my shaker window right to the top. And I'm just gonna cut around so that I don't have anything. Actually, you know what? It's not gonna matter, it's not gonna show. If this were gonna be sitting on the top of the card, I would cut around this so nothing shows, but I forgot it's gonna be underneath this, so you're not gonna see it. But if you do it the other way, trim around it so there's nothing showing. So now you've got your little shaker. It's already shaken and looking so cute. So now what you need to do is adhere it to, I'm going to adhere it to this piece first. You could line it up, line everything up and adhere it to the base first. There's always several ways to do a technique. So I might actually do that. I'm going to adhere it to the base first because I think that's going to be easier. It might not be, but this is what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm not pushing it down all the way yet. There, I think that's lined up pretty well. Okay, so now I'll push it down. Now that's in place. We're going to cover it with this, and this is where all of these extra little foam squares are going to come in handy. Now you want to make sure you put a lot of foam on here because once this goes through the mail or has been handled quite a bit, it's going to start, like, you know how if it goes through the mail and it's pushing through, like, you might have some indents where there's not any foam. So you want to add plenty of foam so you don't have that problem. Okay. So I've got all the backs off. If you, if I were to do this over again, I definitely would use strips of foam or foam sheets. This took a while to peel off. And, or I would just put this just right on top of my card instead of having it flush with the top. But this is gonna look really cool. Okay, so what I'm gonna do with this, because I want it to have a bit more glitz. I really like glitz, if you can't tell from all the glitter on here. So I'm going to just take a piece of scrap paper here. And I'm just gonna brush around the edge with my shimmer brush. And you may not be able to see it, but I'll catch some light when I'm finished. It adds a really pretty subtle shine. This is the clear brush, which is like a silvery iridescent shine. You see that? So now what I'm going to do is use my glue pen to glue this on. Since it's such a thin border, this glue pen works really well. It's a nice strong adhesive. You can easily just draw it right on. And then we'll put that right around here. So we have a beautiful window. Oh, the flush window part is finished now. So I'm going to add some details. I've got the base to our snow globe here. And I did that so that the edges or the top corners here just meet up with where it meets with the circle. And I sized it so that it did that and still came down at the right level. If that makes sense. And then this is just a little bit of layer to give it some dimension. Since this is such a skinny piece, I'm using the glue pen again. And there we go. And now I'm going to use the glue pen again. This is so delicate that I'm just doing some dots in some places. I did a bunch of these last year, so I sort of blocked it out of my memory because I was sitting here doing this for so long. I had two versions of my card. I had this version, which I gave to just family and really close friends, like crafty friends who I knew would appreciate it, and close friends and family. And then I had a version that still looked super cute, but it was much, much simpler. It was more of a photo card. So there we go. So almost finished. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of glitz because you can never have too much sparkle. And there we go. All finished. So cute. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you want the file to this, then visit my blog at jmamalmy.com. And my post has a link to my Cricut Design Space file. And then I'll link it in the comment or in the description below on YouTube as well. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.